guys, welcome to the event. It's our Discord Dev Workshop, Code Like a Pro with OpenxAI tools starting shortly. Thank you. While we're waiting for people, Sam, did you want me to play the couple of videos from the two submissions we've had, just in the background?
Sure.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Would you like to take the screen share then?
Yeah, I'll screen share through Discord now. Okay, I'll just play the first submission we had. So this was Budley AI. So that should be playing a video on your screen now. You can sort of see, I think they might have recorded this on Loom where it sort of auto zooms in to where you're typing on the screen. There is Chrome extensions that do this type of video recording as well. But yeah, this person has created a app that uses AI to generate web pages. So you can sort of see the prompt that the person's giving the AI, describing what the website is going to look like. I'll just speed it up a bit. Creating a landing page for a space company, make sure it looks beautiful. And he's got a little window in here that previews the code through the front end. And yeah, basically it's just using AI to generate all the divs and sections of the landing page, which is a pretty specific use case and pretty good use case of AI. Traditionally, LLMs are already trained on millions and millions of web pages, so this isn't a big stretch for them to figure that out. Probably the biggest stretch is just making sure that there is checks of the code that it generates, so it actually renders and doesn't have an error. So yeah, Budley AI is that submission. Looks pretty good. Okay, and he's just going through and doing some more updates to the website, like make it green, put a button in, things like that. All right, moving to the second demo. So this is another video that was submitted today. So this is the first one from University of Sydney crew, USyd. And this one's called EcoTrace. And it's basically using a llama and AI in the background to analyze a product. So there's three different ways to enter the product. You can just enter the URL, you can just enter the product name, and it then asks the AI, what is the environmental impact of building an iPhone? It looks at all the, the carbon footprint features, like how much energy to create the phone, the factory, the digging up the raw resources, things like that. And the other way to search for products is to scan compare is the one that's showing on the screen. So basically you can compare different models of cars. You can compare any products, and it's doing the same thing, but it's sort of scaling it out so you can compare a BYD to a Tesla, for example. Here she's put a Chevrolet Chevy Bolt, and you can get a eco score for each product. And again, so we've had enter the product name individually, enter the product name multiple, which is comparing the two. And then the third use case is actually one that's coming up shortly, where she scans the barcode. It's just showing that you can scrape a URL directly. And yeah, it's comparing three products. Looks really good, really awesome front end sort of design work. It looks really nice. And then the third use case of this EcoTrace environmental scanning tool is to literally scan the barcode of the product item in your hand and hold it up to your web camera. It then scans the barcode, pulling the image in, and then using AI to get the barcode out of that barcode image. Obviously, there's a global products list with all those barcodes in it. I have a feeling for the demo, just entering in those manually is certainly fine as like a CSV file or something. So if you just want to scan things around your house, you can enter it in manually or scrape the internet and try and get as much as you can. But yeah, successfully it QR code scanned and then loaded up the spring water bottle from Woolworths. So yeah, really good app. Love the user experience and great use case of AI. And it's using Llama and everything in the back end. Funny enough, the submission before that was using an external LLM from, say, ChatGPT or Google Gemini was this one. And yeah, one of the requirements of the hackathon is you must have it ready to deploy and build on top of uh, Xnode and OpenxAI, which means it's self-hosted on top of Xnode, which means basically we've advised just install a Llama. You can get like 160 plus models to use. Pick a model. Could be image recognition, sound recognition, text coding. There's all sorts of LLM models for all use cases. Just pick one for your app use case, and yeah, just build your app around that. Don't try and use like external API providers like Google or ChatGPT. Just run it locally on your local machine, get it running, and then you can record a video. Okay, that's all I've got. We've got a few people join now, Sam, so I'll hand back to you. Thanks.
Hello, everyone. I'm Samuel from lead engineer from OpenxAI, and exactly what John is talking about, I will be giving a tutorial about today, which is how to use our template to ensure that your app is deployable onto OpenxAI. I will share my screen, and I also will be sharing several files during this workshop, which you can check the recording afterwards, but you can also use these links I'll be sharing. So the repository is Next.js Llama template. I'm going to put it in the chat. So this is the template I'd recommend most people to use. Next.js is a common front-end technology, and Llama is the way we would recommend hosting LLM models locally. The tutorial we'll be following is also on our documentation website, which this specifically lists the framework technologies for Next.js, Node.js, and Rust. And this template is just an extension of that with Llama also added to this application. So basically, when you open up the template, you get this, an example folder, a Next.js app folder, an Nix folder, git ignore, some more Nix stuff, licensing, Llama model, txt file, and a README. So of course, the README, you can put whatever you want. Same for the git ignore. The flake is related to a technology we use, which is called NixOS. I'm assuming some of you might have heard of other similar technologies, like, for example, Docker. Docker is a way to reproduce the same application onto multiple environments. NixOS also performs this use case, but also a lot more. And it's our preferred approach for developing applications. Instead of Docker, we write a Docker file, which only runs a single application, and you import like a base to work on top of. Instead of that, NixOS, you define more like an operating system, so you can run as many applications as you want. But it has the same advantage of Docker, meaning that when you run it on one machine or another, it is guaranteed to be the exact same. With the change that NixOS is a lot more powerful, not only can you like configure through environmental variables, like you can do with Docker, you can also configure anything you want. Like you could conditionally run applications, you could create configuration files. The only disadvantage of this is that all of this is in Nix language, which is a scripting language, which I assume most of you are not familiar with. So for that, it's quite a high barrier of entry. And as such, we have made several templates such as these, where you can just enter your Next.js app or your Rust app or your Node.js app, and the Nix files are already present in this repository, which means you can just put your Next.js app in this folder, and most of the Nix stuff should be working out of the box. The only thing to take into consideration is that the output mode should for us to wrap it into Nix. So any existing project you can copy and the Nix should be working. In case you want to take a look at this, we have here the NixOS module. So here you can also define settings you can customize. For example, in this case, hostname, port. So I assume most of you are familiar with the port. Hostname shouldn't have to change. And as well as open firewall, because by default, all NixOS, as it's an operating system, has a firewall, so you can running your Next.js application. And as well, you will be running Olama. And as you can see in here, you can have a lot of, it's basically a configuration file. In this case, one example of something we've done is because we don't like you to have to edit these files. We added an Olama model.txt, which in this case defines this Llama 3.2, 1 billion parameters model, which you can then import into this Nix as a parameter. So this model will get set to whatever string you put in this file, which then is used to pass both to the model environmental variable of this application, as well as in Olama, you can define load models, which will pull this model to run locally. In case you want multiple models, you can also, instead of this, you can just add a model here, like DeepSeek R1. And similarly, this one will be pulled whenever Olama starts. One thing to note is that pooling takes time. We have to download this model, so it might not be available right away after starting your application, but you can expect the progress. For all the models we are able to run, I'll also provide a link. So this has actually been updated yesterday, so it also includes GPT-OS, which is a brand new model. And any of these Olama models you can run with the tag. So in this case, you have these 3 tags, which you can use to run this model in case you want to. Then for the rest of this template, Next.js, there's a lot of documentation out there. I assume you guys will be able to find something about that. And in this case, this example app just has a chat function. So you have this model, which has an input box, which you can then input text and send to the LLM, and an API endpoint to have this Olama package, which then will be chatting with this Olama. One thing to note in this case is Next.js has a server-side rendering and local rendering. But in general, most of your apps, like the chat component, because you are storing user input in the user browser, this will be using the client. But on this client device, we do not want to use Olama because Olama is running on our server and not on the user. So you will have to have these API routes which will interact with your Olama. So make sure to only interact with Olama within your server components, as any interaction in the user components might work locally on your PC because you're running on Llama, but might not work for another user which is not running on Llama locally. Then for the rest of the NICs, we have this flake.nix. You shouldn't have to edit this at all. Basically, it defines the startup script and link to the other files we have. NixOS module, you're free to add more. You're even encouraged to add more configuration options here for users to change your application behavior. Similar for the package.nix, you shouldn't have to edit this at all. This is the same for every Next.js app. For the flake.nix, in the example folder, it defines an example of how to deploy your applications. So this is the place where you would be showing how to use your configuration. For example, we can change the port to 80, just like that. So here you can put all your recommended default configurations for users to edit and change. And one thing you notice here is for development, I encourage you to use this local path. So it will always update based on the files of the parent, which is this whole folder. But when you actually launch the app, you should use your GitHub, which ideally is open source, so anyone can deploy it. So to go through the tutorial, first of all, it will start to pick a template. I will encourage all of you to use the Olama Next.js template. And then this create example flake. You don't need to do it because there's already an example flake present. But it does explain you the different components you have. Like if you have multiple GitHub repositories, you can also include these in a simple example flake. And again, this hint I just dropped, for development, it's easy to use the absolute path, so it updates in real time, where for actual deployments, you should use the GitHub repository. So people can also run your application without cloning your GitHub. Then for testing out applications, unfortunately, Nix is not very easy to run in Windows. You can run it in WSL too, but NixOS, I'd recommend you to run in a VM. Also for Mac users, I would recommend using a VM. You can run Nix without issues on Mac, but you cannot try the full deployment. So for that, I'd recommend to use a VM service like VirtualBox, and then you can just install Ubuntu Server ISO into this virtual machine. Of course, of course, you can use any VM server. So for example, for Mac, I'm not sure if they have VirtualBox, but any VM is fine. You just install Ubuntu into there, and then you run this command in Ubuntu after it's installed, which will transform your Ubuntu installation in XNodeOS installation. Here you can define the password of the user you'll be logging in as, which in this command is set to xnode password, and the username is fixed to xnode. Then once you have this set up, you should either through the GitHub or through a local instance share these files with your NixOS environment. You can also set up your IDE on NixOS and work with there directly. It's up to you. Then to actually deploy the app. So first you will be developing, but you can also attempt to deploy this template app to make sure everything's installed correctly. You should choose a name for your app. And then you just say, you run these commands basically, which is NixOS container, create whatever name you choose. And then the flake should reference this example flake. So in case in this instance, I'm here. So here I could call it, for example, demo. And then in this case, because this is one example folder deeper, I do /example. Flake.nix is the default name, so you don't put this. You just put the folder, which will then be deploying this, would then be building this application with all the components it requires, all the dependencies required are installed by default, which is also what it says here. In case this fails because you have an error in your Nix file, just continue, because the container, the app gets created regardless, but it's just in an invalid state. So then we'll wait for this to build, which might take a while depending on your internet speed. Mine is not great, so I'm hoping it shouldn't take too long. As you can see, it requires 1.2 gigabytes to download all the components necessary to run this app, which includes all Next.js dependencies, which includes Olama, which includes any other operating system files. The thing it does not include yet is the Olama models, because these will be fetched once you start the Olama application. So it will be going on top of there. So while we wait for this to finish, I can also continue with the next step in a new tab. So basically all these configuration files on NixOS are stored in this folder, which in my case, I have also a test machine, but in this case for demo. So by default, it should look like this. It has a bunch of settings, which we won't be using. So you can just remove all of this. And instead of that, replace it with this, which basically says this application or container should be part of this network, and any containers inside of this network are able to communicate with each other, and containers inside of other networks are not able to communicate with each other, which provides an abstraction from which provides an isolation between these machines. But most of the machines you can just put on ContainerNet, as we do not require them to be separated. Then we'll have to wait for this building to finish.
Did you want me to just talk about
Which seems to be taking a while.
Do you want me to talk about the hackathon submission rules while we wait?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So basically, everyone should know about the hackathon landing page. So it's just that C block. Just put your hands up if you haven't heard of that, and I can just drop the link. But basically, I'll put the link in the chat. And oh, here it is. So on the C block website, we actually have a whole. You there? Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I just
Okay.
ended the stream to hope to improve my download speed.
Yeah. That looks really definite. Like the stream has ended. I was like, what? So yeah, I'll just share my screen then. Hopefully, it doesn't affect your download. So I just wanted to quickly show the home page of C block. Okay, so there it is. So you can see this is the blockcblock.com webpage. Make sure you go dark mode. Looks way better. And then scroll down. We've actually got both hackathon entry pages live now. So those from India who are also at this workshop, because this is high level engineering, which applies to any region. This call. So yeah, we had the Australia Hacknode live, and now we've just opened the Hacknode India. So there is a team on the ground over in India building that up as well. So yeah, that's got a separate prize pool, and yeah, a lot of participants there as well. I just wanted to just go into the one I'm running, which is the Australia Hackathon, Hacknode Australia. So just scrolling down, we do have some intern roles available for uni students and junior roles. Um, so one of the requirements, and this was discussed before, is we wouldn't hire anyone or have them contribute to the project as a verified contributor unless they've contributed previously. So one of the quickest ways to contribute to an open source project is to just yeah, do a pull request and push out some code. Obviously, it's quite daunting to try and edit the studio platform for OpenxAI. That's why we have things like this, the hackathon, where we can actually see the code, the little project that you've built, and verify that your coding skills, your app building skills, and also verify recording video, communication skills, and then marketing skills, because you basically have to push that out on social media and YouTube as a video, just running a demo of the application that you've built. So we've got a bunch of rules, and they're on the Bloxy Block hackathon landing page. Um, Basically, the main rules are um, to we've opened it up slightly. So previously it used to be just a PR on the main Global Accelerator 2025 repo. You can do private repos or direct repos into your GitHub. That's because we've moved on to a bigger hackathon landing page platform called Bloxy Block. And that lets us, when you do your submission, you're able to put where is the code GitHub link and put your whole personal GitHub repo link in there during the submission process. Um, we do, want people to continue to contribute open source. Um, like I said, everyone's learning off each other all the time, and with AI and vibe coding, that's also happening through AI. So it doesn't really make sense to try and hide code now for an app that you're submitting. But if you want to, just until the say judging period's finished and the prizes are awarded, and then you maybe open source it after that, that's fine. That's up to you. But yeah, this Bloxy platform allows you to do that. So that's the only modification of the rules since the start of it. And the other technical aspects, which is in the demo app folders in the Global Accelerator 2025 repo, it's in the README. Basically, you have to use Olama. Um, Now, basically, what that means is you have to host it on top of Xnode as a self-contained server, run your whole backend, front-end database, um, and AI model all on the one machine. What that means is we can actually host that and deploy that onto the decentralized OpenxAI cloud for you. That's what we'll be doing for the winners. And one of the requirements is, and it really just makes it really easy, and Sam just showed you a whole example of that, is just using Alama. That's a package supported by NixOS. We can support that out of the box for any deployment, so it just makes it really easy for us to deploy. We do have an app that uses other Hugging Face models, but yeah, there is terms and conditions to Hugging Face models, whereas Alama is very lenient, and they're really open source, available for everyone to use. So a lot better than say the Hugging Face models in terms of terms and conditions, and no specific Hugging Face um, uh, packages that have to be installed to even run the Hugging Face models. That's another restriction. Alarm is just a lot better. So if you just want to make it simple, do that. The other thing I wanted to just quickly say, Sam, before I hand back, and I think your download should have finished, is you can vibe code this. So you can just open up the Global Accelerator 2025 repo on GitHub, Open that up in Cursor, and we've had workshops about this, and there's instructions on how to do it, where you can just use AI to help build your application, build the front end out, hook it up to the Llama backend, and then just get something working and submit that. Record the video, submit it on Bloxyblock. Um, so that is the other part of it. And yeah, the really key thing I wanted to say, Sam, is just we appreciate that the Nix config is going to be hard for everyone, so we're not assessing your Nix config in the hackathon. So when you go to submit that project, we're actually assessing the video that you record of you running it locally, and then we're also assessing the code that you submit for the back end, front end, and Llama integration. So it needs to be integrated into Llama. We can see it in the code. Now, one leniency is, yeah, just to Nixify or add the correct Nix config so it doesn't have a build error, is a little bit tough. So we're not assessing that in the judging criteria. And for those people that win, and we do host that app for you on the, say, App Store, we'll be working with those developers to just Nixify it and configure that Nix flake for you. So we'll be helping you out there. That's all I've got. I'll flick back over to Sam. Thanks.
Thank you. I'll start sharing my screen again. All right. Now, as Johnny mentioned, with this Nix, you don't have to touch it, but it is our, in case you want to develop apps for OpenxAI, it is the way we use that. For example, one thing he mentioned is a database. So in case you want to add a database in NixOS, you just add this PostgreSQL, I believe it's called, enable is true. And then we'll just add this dependency to your app. Now, I expect most of you to not know these by heart. So you have this convenient website, which you can, for example, search for Postgres. And then you will see this, all these different options, which you can define, which in this case, most of the enable options just enables the program. So this is the option we want, and we can add this, and then we have PostgreSQL running in our app, and we can interact with it from our Next.js app or from any other app. So yeah, it's very easy to add programs, and similarly, it's very easy to remove them, which is one of the benefits of Nix. In general, I don't expect you guys to be, like Johnny mentioned, I don't expect you guys to be working there so much, but it is a possibility in case you want to, of course, to add all these dependencies here. But otherwise, we'll be helping you to do this. Now you see our building has finished. So we now have this full system ready for us to launch. I'll also put this in the just put it like this. So here you can search for NixOS options, and you can also search for packages, which would be for Nix itself. So there's a difference there, in case you're interested. Nix basically uses this package file, can run single applications, like Nix run. While NixOS defines more an operating system, which can run multiple applications. Then we go to the next step of our guide. So that's to start this container. So this will now boot like all the will start all the services which are required for our app. So it will take a while, not as long as the download though. Now it's started, and then once it's started, you can log in as root with this command, and now we're in the container. So now you'll see all our files have been changed to this container scope, and we cannot access anything on the host system anymore. But what we can do here is use the convenient commands provided by systemd, such as journalctl, to view the logs of our application. So in this case, we called our application Next.js Llama template. So that's what we're going to be using. So here you can view all the logs of this application. Similarly, you can view all the logs of, let's say, Olama. And similarly, you can provide all the logs of Olama model loader, which is downloading the model, as you can see. Then you can also put a follow, so we can see when it's finished to download the model. And you can also access this container from your NixOS system by the name. So in this case, the port it's running on is 3000, which is the default port. And we can run this by the container name. So in this case, we called it demo. So we can just enter demo. We can just enter demo.container and then port 3000. And then for some reason it's not working. Let me check. So we can also ping these. It's got NixOS container. Sure. And there you have our application. Then any other steps? Updating the container. So for most of you, you should just run this single command, which is update, and it should do anything you want. So in this case, we have this application, which has a button called send. We could, for example, change the text to be send more. And then we just run this update command. So again, we should specify where to update from, which in this case is the relative path example. And this will automatically detect whatever changes are made, only apply the changes, and only restart whatever has been changed. So in this case, only our Next.js Olama template has changed. So this needs to be rebuilt, and all the other components will stay exactly the same. And after this being rebuilt, it will automatically restart only the Next.js Olama template, and Olama and other services will not be interrupted. So then we go in here. Then this warning you can safely ignore. It's one of the current 2 weeks of development. There's one app which is called pin state version, which doesn't work if you don't have xnode config folder in your container. So you can make that in case you want to get rid of the error, but otherwise don't do anything. Now we can go back. We can refresh our application, and now we'll say send more. So that's how easy it is to update. And then once you're done, or considering Nix does keep files. So for example, this folder we just made, it's a file system, it's not an application. All these files stay present. Similarly, Olama downloaded models, they're on the file system, they're not on the application layer. So that means these will be sticking around when you change applications, which to be completely certain that it will deploy out of the box, you can destroy your container and recreate it to make sure that it works out of the box, or you can destroy it whenever you're done. For that's this part. Then we have a few examples. For example, we Nix package the near validator, which is a blockchain node, which looks like this. Then we have, for example, OpenxAI chat, which is what currently being deployed in the studio. You can see what it looks like. And this is only the example flakes, which should ideally be the only thing you have to edit. But you can also look at the GitHub repository itself. So OpenxAI chat, and there you can check, for example, the flake.nix. You can check the NixOS module, like all the settings we have, the services we start, and you can use all of those as an inspiration. One of the great tricks is because Nix documentation can be lacking at times, you can search on GitHub or language NICs, and then any service you want, like Postgres. And then it will show you all the repositories of people who have Postgres in their NICs code, which could give you an indication on how to run or how to use these settings based on what other people use in their projects. For the development guide, that's it for my presentation. And now I'll be answering AMA questions. Either you can ask them by voice, or you can ask them over the chat.
Yeah, happy to do
So if anyone has
voice
any,
or chat. So let's go. Any questions from the crowd here? Let us know. We've got a little bit of time left to answer questions.
and of course you can also always ask the questions later in case nothing comes to mind now, or you're watching the recording. Then you can just put them in the chat and still ping me or Johnny, and we'll answer your questions anyway. But this is the opportunity to ask it live. So for the question in the chat about API keys, yes, I do believe Johnny can clarify this, but I do believe it needs to be running on Llama locally. Of course, during development, you're free to use API keys, so that's what you prefer. But it should be working on Olama. So most of these models, luckily, which you would be using through an API, are also on Olama, but not all of them might be. And on Olama, of course, because it's running locally, you might be more incentivized to use smaller models, which have a better performance and are easy to run for people. But in case you don't have a GPU, for example, then it will be pretty slow to use these models. So for development, it's fine to use API keys, but for actual deployment, I do think we require it to at least be possible to run on a Llama.
Okay, I think that's it. I just wanted to load up the page to send this off. So basically, there is the Global AI Accelerator 2025. So the winners of each regional hack node or hackathon will automatically be eligible to enter the accelerator if they win. And again, this is a lot larger prize pool of $100,000. It's running over the whole period of all the hackathons around the world. And the pinnacle of it is that there will be 1 month co-working space in Dubai with a program around that, such as obviously you've built up your MVP, your application idea in the hackathons, the hack nodes, but then if you think that it has legs and you can scale it up as a startup, you formed a team, or maybe it's yourself, but you've got users, you've got a clear product market fit, and you want to scale it up in an accelerator, there's a lot more opportunities to bring that to Dubai. There's a lot of investor contacts over there that OpenxAI are aware of that you can be introduced to. So yeah, good luck in each of the hackathons in each region. Like I said, click the India one if you want to join that. That's open now as of like yesterday, and yeah, Hacknode Australia is running, and USA is coming soon. Um, for anyone outside of those regions, we will have a solution for that in coming weeks. So yeah, there will be a sort of a catch-all to help other people in other regions. But yeah, just check out accelerator.openxai.org and yeah, read through that, click through to the Bloxy Block Hackathon landing pages. Okay, Sam, if there's nothing from yourself, Akshay's on the call as well. Anything from you, Akshay, you wanted to talk about? If not, we can wrap this up.
No, I don't have any specific points. Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, Akshay's done some great blog posts. So go to medium.com/OpenxAI. They're live on the blog as well. So there's a lot of guides of how to pick a hackathon idea that we've written. We've provided a lot of examples and YouTube videos of how to build it, come up with the idea, how to vibe code. So lots of help there for you. We also have mentorship one-on-one. I had a mentorship with someone at University of Sydney yesterday, and she was able to get everything up and running and get the app building and start loading the web page and then start vibe code changing her app. So yeah, really quick, and yeah, you can go from 0 to 1 on a mentoring session as well, if that's your preferred way to learn. If not, just follow the YouTube videos and the recordings like this workshop. That's all for me today. Thank you so much, Sam, for jumping on, coming out of your busy engineering sprint cycle to join us. Yeah, if you want to have a mentor sesh, just jump in the chat for your region and yeah, ask us on Discord. There is basically a spreadsheet we can sort of book a slot in. Cool. All right, thanks, guys. Catch you later. Bye. Good luck.
Thanks everyone for attending. Bye bye.